All right, we're live. How you doing, Dr. Fred?
Awesome. Thank you for inviting me. Greatly appreciate. I was just sitting around taking a nap, and then all of a sudden you said, "You want to be a podcast guest?"
Yeah,
I wasn't
we were
lazy.
we were joking before going live. You are the easiest dude to schedule a podcast with. It's like I appreciate it. You're so easy to get it done. So I appreciate you coming on with me, brother.
Awesome.
But I know a lot of people who follow this may not know who you are. So I'll give you a quick intro, and then I'll let you kind of fill in the gaps. But Dr. Fred Didomenico is the author of several books. The Best Kept Secret to Heal Your Back Pain, which is your new one, which is awesome. You gave me a copy. It's an awesome book. And my personal favorite, You Are More Powerful Than You Think, which you introduce your H.E.A.L.E.D system, which is 6 steps to heal your life. I freaking love that book. I gave a copy to my wife, and she loves that book. She's just been devouring it, and we just think the world of you, man, and what you've created. So excited to have a conversation with you about it.
Thank you, brother. I would say I wrote the Heal Your Back Pain book. I actually wrote that, but used other people's research that they did, let them do the homework, and I just put it into a book. I would say You're More Powerful Than You Think with the H.E.A.L.E.D system. I definitely didn't write that. I mean, there was things that I knew that I put in there, or certainly my life experiences, but that book was downloaded. That was a spiritual download. I can't say I can actually take credit for that one.
Yeah, but I mean, I would love for you to kind of break down what it is, like what the H.E.A.L.E.D system is, and kind of how that download process looked for you. Because I know it took several years for you to finish it, didn't it?
Yeah. Well, I seem to have this core value that I have to live. If I'm going to teach something, I have to live it first. So apparently I'm a slow learner because it took me 9 years. But I just want to give a little bit of backstory. We're both chiropractors, and I knew when I found chiropractic was another divine intervention, how I got into chiropractic. But, my patients would always say, like what you get, you're always so happy and positive. You're so lucky that you know your purpose. And sometimes we don't appreciate the gift that we have, that we know why we're here in this life, right? I forget who wrote the quote. You could probably tell me, but 2 most important days: the day you're in your life, the day you're born, and then the day you figure out why, right? Because people with purpose have the most fulfilling life. On Friday mornings, which this is a Friday, I go teach the H.E.A.L.E.D system in a rehab center with addicts. Of course, they're not addicts. Addiction is what they did, right? But that's one of the ways out of self-destructive behavior, is finding your purpose. Because once you find your purpose, it gives you a greater meaning in your life. And once you have greater meaning, and that becomes, if you want to say, your purpose or your meaning in life, and something that you need to do, then all of a sudden you start eliminating, at least trying to eliminate, those self-destructive behaviors, right? Mm-hmm. And one thing I said this morning, when I found my purpose, my greatest fear became not fulfilling my purpose. Mm. And on a personal story, I tell the story, You Are More Powerful. When I was going to undergraduate school, I was bartending, and, I just was having a good time partying. So, this back in the early 80s, was introduced to cocaine. And then all of a sudden, I'm on a college budget. I can't afford cocaine. I'm going to do the cheap stuff, man. Let's do crystal methadone. Yeah, let's do that. Now that makes sense. That has logic to my financial status. I was thinking logically then, right? And then you read the story. One day I'm walking around closing all the drapes in my house because I thought all these people were coming to get me. And I stopped in a moment and thought, shoot, I'm having schizophrenic delusions. Like, this is bad. And so I thought, you know what? I just figured out I was going to be a chiropractor. And I said, I'm done. I'm not doing drugs anymore. Now, what I found out later was I was actually physiologically addicted, supposedly. But I quit on the spot. I never had one withdrawal. And that was the power of God. And maybe you can call it ignorance bliss, because I didn't know I was supposed to have withdrawals. I didn't know. I thought you just quit. Come to find out later, I should have had brain damage and all these withdrawal symptoms. And I'm like, I don't have any brain damage. I don't know what you guys are talking about. right? So anyway, once I was a chiropractor, people would say that, and I felt bad. Like, wow, I didn't realize so many people don't know their purpose. And then I saw this thing, I looked it up, and, Google never lies, but supposedly up to 93% of the people, at least Americans, don't know their life purpose. That's a lot.
Yeah.
And so, then I evolved to coaching chiropractors. Then I got married. My second wife was diagnosed with cancer. And then a few weeks before she died, I was carrying her to take a bath. And we were talking about her. We call it life celebration. It wasn't really a funeral. And then all of a sudden she started bawling out loud, like sobbing, howling, crying out of the blue. And I said, "What's wrong?" And she said, "I don't know if I did what I was supposed to do in my life." And I thought, oh my God, man, the weight of that, you know this story, the weight of that was so heavy, I didn't even feel like I could carry it. And then the contrast was 5 seconds later, I had this appreciation that I was on my soul purpose. And then a very loud voice in my head said, "No one in my life will ever say that again." Like with conviction, not even in my DNA, in the space between the chromosomes, said, no one in my life will say that again. So once I went through a little bit, certainly to recover from that. But then I thought, shoot, now I'm divorced. I was divorced. Now I'm widowed. And in a selfish intention, I just wanted to meet the most amazing woman so I could have a happy marriage one day. But I knew I had to become the man that woman would choose. And I didn't feel like I was the man at that time. And so I started this, I would say, accelerated spiritual journey, because I was already on a spiritual journey. Being raised Catholic, there was contradictions to me in that religion. Like Genesis 1:27, you're created in likeness and image. How could you be created in likeness and an image of God but be born a sinner? That didn't make sense to me. And then how could we never be like Jesus? But he said, you can do, if you believe in me, you can do all these things and greater. Like the contradiction, those two verses drove me to find out. Plus being a chiropractor and a hands-on healer, I remember the day that I said, I want to know who Jesus was, not who religion says, not who man says Jesus was. I want to know who Jesus is from Jesus. I remember saying that because who's going to be more honest than Jesus? Yeah. But can I believe the next person down the road carrying a book? I already heard a bunch of those guys. And so through that truly heartfelt desire, I ended up having 3 out-of-body one-on-one experiences in a whole nother dimension with Jesus, where I was just in prayer. I mean, there's no way my mind can create that. So let's be clear. I, as a person, cannot create that. But with heartfelt intention, in deep, genuine, sincere prayer of wanting to know at certain moments, all of a sudden, man, I was in this other dimension interacting with Jesus. 2 of those experiences while I was writing the book. So from the time I decided I got to become that man till I got the acronym H.E.A.L.E.D was given to me, trust me, I didn't think of it. Then, and I saw the meaning and started writing, was 4 years. So I was on that accelerated journey for pretty solid 4 years, where I actually had to get to the point where my level of consciousness could even accept that message. I probably could not have understood it. And so I was going through this more. I know. Do you want to throw in anything? Because I could just keep on going.
Keep going, man. Keep going.
So I was in the rehab place this morning, and, I'm taking them through the H.E.A.L.E.D system. So about a month ago, I said, I want to find my purpose. I said, the way you get out of addiction is you got to find your purpose. And the majority of people in there have no idea what their purpose is. So I was out of town for a few weeks. So I come back today and I'm like, okay, gang, here's what I told you a month ago. Here's what we're going over. And so in H.E.A.L.E.D, the second E is establish your purpose and mission. So all I did was take principles and questions out of that to enlighten them. How do you look at your life and see that you've been divinely guided the whole way? So there's one guy in there and he was imparting his spiritual knowledge. And I'm like, dude, you want to teach this class? I mean, but yet he's in rehab, but he has all this knowledge. And that's the way I felt. I read all the books, did the authors, did the seminars, listened to the podcast. I could speak the vocabulary, man. I could speak the language while I had all these self-destructive behaviors, right? So it felt like a crossword, a puzzle. You turn over on your coffee table and all the pieces are in a pile. Well, here's all the spiritual pieces that I read that book. Yep, I read that book. Oh, I know that book. Yeah, I read that book. But the application is a whole nother level, right? So, I'm talking to these guys today and I'm like, you know what, man, your purpose is you need to be teaching people what the things you just told me. And he goes, I've heard that since I was 6 years old.
Wow.
Yeah. He goes, that's not the first time I heard it. In fact, I heard it since I was 6. He goes, I've been searching my whole life. And I'm like, well, maybe you need to quit searching. And maybe you need to start speaking. You know, it's like you could be a leader in this group. So it's like there's patterns of how we find our purpose. I know I'm getting off the topic here, and then I went through, wow, here's patterns in my life. I could see why I ended up being a chiropractor. So what happened was I had to go through that spiritual experience. So what I told them was, here's step 1 of finding your purpose. Be great where you're at. Because if you're not faithful with a little, you're not going to be given more. If you're not great where you're at, then doors at the next level aren't going to open. You'll never find those doors because you never set a standard for yourself. So step 1, set a standard of excellence and do your best. You don't have to be perfect, but do your best. So I gave an example of my sister, when she was in her 20s, quit college, started bartending. That's a whole nother story what that led to. But she's like, I need to get the heck out of this industry. So I'm going to go just get a job. She got a job as a receptionist at Apple. Okay. Bit of an opportunity that you don't even, what's Apple? I don't know. I just have a receptionist job. Oh, I can buy stock. Oh, that's amazing. Right. And what she ended up, she just retired 3 years ago from Adobe at a high level executive, like just a couple steps below the CEO, a multimillionaire, traveled around the world, ran sales teams, won tons of awards. She started as a receptionist, but she was faithful where she was at, and she made it all the way to the top. That's how you find your purpose. You got to be faithful where you are. And that's no different than the day I said, no one will say that, but just my own pain inspired me to want to evolve until I got to the consciousness that the next door can open, that I can actually accept it and see it. Right. And you see it with your third eye, right? You see it with your intuition, with your connection to divinity. So
you're saying this, and this makes complete sense, man. I've never heard it quite put that way, but kind of the first step with finding your purpose is really wherever you are right now, do that with the highest level of excellence possible. And the door's going to open, the path is going to kind of reveal itself as you go. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah. So we go through this a little bit in the H.E.A.L.E.D system and establish. It's like, the humanity of us wants significance. Well, I'm working hard and nobody's complimenting me and I want some acknowledgement. I want compliments. You don't see what I'm doing. And that's the thinking error because God's watching. God will open a door no man can open. But if you don't set a standard of excellence down here, how are you ever going to fulfill your purpose up here? You don't have the skill, determination, persistence, the standard for yourself to make it here. You will never accept the responsibility up here.
Man, that I love doing podcasts with you, man. Like that little nugget right there is like is solid gold. If we stopped right here, that'd be like I've got something that I can immediately apply. That's so good. Um, can you dive into just the steps of the healed system? Because I know each of the letters stands for something important, and it's kind of a process. What does that look like?
Well, certainly divinely created, because when we go through, you see it's perfect and it can't be any other way. And the acronym HEALED makes sense because that's what happens. You get healed of your humanity to live from your reference point, which is your divinity, right? Our divinity doesn't need healing. Our humanity needs healing. And so healed, H is honor God within yourself. And what is that? Genesis 1:21, we're creating likeness and image. Now, here's something that's fascinating. When you look at, okay, let's say I'm a spiritual being. Now, here's the thing. If you've never had a near-death experience and had your body, leave your body and look back at your dead body, how would you ever know that you're actually a spiritual being? You think, I'm just human. And that's what faith and belief is. So if our belief systems are how we got to where we are today, and would you agree that two people can look at the same thing and get two different perceptions?
Oh, yes.
And they can assign two different emotions based on those perceptions.
Oh, yes.
Believe, yeah. All you have to do is be married. And just by gender alone, there's massive, that's the law of polarity happening in a relationship on a day-to-day basis. So, so the bottom line is the emotion creates the belief. That means if a belief feels real because you have the feeling in your body. So if your belief systems only got you to where you are today, and belief systems were based on perception, then you have a choice to change your belief system to change your life. It's a choice. And so when you look at the verse, Matthew 22 something, 17 or whatever, it says, many are called, few are chosen. That's not true. Everyone is called. How do you know you're called? Because you're watching this video. So you're called, but not everyone chooses. You're called and chosen, but you have to choose. And that is choose to change your belief systems, to create more truthful, spiritually based beliefs so you can tap into who you are, why you're here, and the vision of your purpose, and actually create it on the physical plane. So that's honor God within yourself. So if you believe that, I know this is a little long-winded, but get this. Here's a really intense principle. If you're a spiritual being, then you're eternal. Now, by the law of conservation of energy, energy cannot be destroyed. It can only be transferred or transmuted. It can change form, or it can be transferred, but it can't be destroyed. What's that mean? If you take liquid water and you put it in cold temperature, what happens? Freezes, turns to ice. If you take water and then you heat it up, what happens? Turns to steam. It changed form, but it didn't change energy. So our spirit comes in and then our spirit will leave. So the thing is, if you're eternal, you can't be destroyed. You are indestructible. Which means what? Can my body be destroyed? Only if I allow it. I can get cancer if I want, or I can heal cancer if I want. I can get in a car accident if I want. Now, who wants any of those? And I get things happen that seem to be out of our control. I don't have the consciousness of that. I don't have the consciousness that I'm going to get in a car accident. That doesn't exist in my consciousness. I don't have a consciousness that I'm going to get mugged or jumped. I don't have the consciousness. Why? Because I'm a spiritual being. I'm here with a purpose. God is in me, is around me, is in front of me. He's paving the road ahead. My enemies come at me one way. They flee 7 ways, Deuteronomy 28. And I live by these principles and have the consciousness. I will fulfill it. The path is straight as long as I'm in God's will. As long as I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, then my life is protected. Psalm 91. No arrow by night, no plague by day. I trample over the serpent and the lion. You know, what's that mean? I'm walking over the world. I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. I will fear no evil. God sets me by, in green pastures, by still waters. You know what I mean? So that's honor God within yourself.
I love it, man. I love it.
So anyway, you're like, okay, I'm afraid to ask the other ones. I'll make the other ones.
No, I think that one's really good. And I love what you just touched on, because I think you kind of there's so much there that could be unpacked, but I think this idea of almost this radical is just the best word I can think of in the moment. This radical responsibility for all things that happen in your own life. And it's sort of your choice, your belief system, your intention that sort of creates what's around you, and is going to attract either what it is that you want or what you don't want. Does that kind of line up with what you're saying?
Exactly. So the thing is, then you got to exercise loving yourself and others. So once you realize I'm a spiritual being, then you're created in love. So I was on a coaching call the other day, and this person, she's going through the H.E.A.L.E. experience we're having in a couple of weeks, right? And she goes, I know I'm supposed to do this, and this is my vision, but I think I should do this, but I'm not sure if I should do this and do this. And we just got done talking about fear and doubt are created in your mind because your heart only knows love. And that's really our goal. Our goal in life is 18 inches, the longest, shortest journey to move from our mind to our heart. And then she goes, how do I know if I'm in my mind? And I'm like, you just said it. The answer is in your question. You asked a question with doubt. That's the answer. Doubt and fear are learned. When you're in your heart knows love. What doubt is there in total divine love in your heart? What are you doubting? You don't even think about it. All you know is love. So why do I think that I won't get jumped? I won't get this. I won't get that. Because before I leave the house, I put myself in total love. And so when I go out, I see other people as innate beings. I don't have to agree with what they wear. I don't have to agree with their tone. I don't have to agree with what they're doing, but I will smile at them. I will make contact. So are there dudes that may look at you sideways? I smile at them. And you know what they do? Their faces melt because all they want is love. So why is nobody going to threaten me? Because I go, dude, what's wrong? What's going on, man? What are you under stress? Hey, hang on a sec. Can I put my hand on your shoulder? What's bothering you? Something's going on in your life. Now, if I'm not in the right space, being an almost 20-year martial artist like you, could we go there?
Oh, yeah.
Well, I don't want to get my ass kicked, number one. Because this in martial arts, you're only as good as the punch that you can take.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so number one, I don't want to get hurt. And B, the last thing I want to do is hurt somebody else.
Yeah, and you never know what someone else is capable of, man.
Oh, my God, man.
Like some of the most unimposing people I've ever met have been just straight killers. It's wild. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what you learn in martial arts. Don't mess with anybody because it's the most unassuming guy that's going to take your head off.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's why when you go out in love and you realize that's who you are and that is your purpose in life, there's no greater purpose than to shine God's light to other people.
Have you heard the story of Cliff Young?
No.
what you're saying really reminds me of him, like this doubt and fear they're learned, right? He's this guy, I think it was in Australia. There used to be this race, and this guy he was a sheep farmer. And I can't remember how far this race is, but it's an insanely long race. It's like several days long, and people will camp and they will, they'll sleep overnight and then they'll get up and they'll keep running. And it's basically this run across Australia. And he didn't train for this. He just showed up on the day of the race wearing the boots that he, farms in and herd sheep in. And when he was drinking a jar of milk when he showed up. And when they asked him, why are you signing up for this race? He's like, well, I have to run a lot because I have to, catch sheep a lot of times if they go astray, and I've never lost a sheep. So I think I'd be good at this. And so the race starts and he starts running. He's wearing like overalls and boots. He just starts running and running and running and running. And there's no one near him. And he ends up getting all the way to the finish line. There's no one there. And so he thinks he's dead last. And he finds out that he got first place by like a lot. And like the next person who arrived was like hours later. And they were asking him, how did you finish? Like, and the way that he finished, he didn't camp and he didn't sleep. And there's like, why didn't you sleep? Why didn't you camp? And he's like, I didn't know I was supposed to. I just kept running. And I think, what would have happened if someone had told him, this is a race and make sure you bring your tent and you're supposed to sleep from this time to this time. Otherwise you'll be too tired. I mean, the dude it wasn't even in his consciousness, wasn't even in his mind. And he went and he just won the race in his boots and his jar of milk. So that's kind of where my mind went as you were telling that.
Yeah. Ignorance on some level is bliss, right? Now let me qualify something. Do I have doubt and fear? Oh, I'm human. But what the H.E.A.L.E.D system does, it's like a hologram. When I get in doubt and fear, I have the skill level because I know the H.E.A.L.E.D steps, because H.E.A.L.E.D is a lifestyle. It's not an event. You use tools, right? A is once you learn to love yourself, exercise, love yourself and others, then A is about forgiveness. It's how to look at your past and find the purpose of all the pain. Now, your personality would never choose what your soul chose. So there's a verse in the Bible, Psalm 139:16 says, you saw my days before they were formed. I'm paraphrasing, and they were formed for me. It doesn't say to me. So imagine if this is your belief system, you're in the spirit world, and you're looking at the movie trailer of your life. And you're like, yeah, coach, put me in. And then your human personality would go, no. Well, sexual abuse, divorce, bankruptcy, COVID, suicide, addiction. No, but your soul's like, oh, I want that human experience because look what I'm going to do. And look at all the people I'm going to help because of what I'm going to learn through that. How's my soul going to look at this? So when you take that perspective of your challenges and you say, how would God look at this? How would God's loving eyes look at this problem? And then you find it's not really a problem. How would love solve that problem? So anyway, then you find the gift in your pain, and then you actually look back and have gratitude. So if I could tell a story real quick, my wife passed away. That was definitely the most traumatic experience, was taking her carotid and feeling nothing. Remember in chiropractic school, we had 7 pulses, right? So we get an exam and, funny thing, you're testing students that are alive. There's always a pulse. So it was such a trip to take her pulse and there's nothing there. But anyway, so then that night, she stayed in her room because she wanted her family to view her because she was being cremated. So 8 hours later, the coroner comes in and I pick her up out of the bed and I put her in her body bag and I'm zipping it up and I stop right here. And basically I said goodbye and then I zipped it up over her face. What I didn't realize was my heart leapt into that bag with her. And I was just a wreck for the next 4 months. I mean, I got sick every month. The last fever I had was 18 years ago, 4 months after my wife died. I haven't had a fever since, but I had a fever where I couldn't get out of bed for 2 days every month for the first 4 months because my heart went with her and I had to piece myself back together, right? Now, when I think about it, if I hadn't have gone through that, we wouldn't be here talking about this podcast. I wouldn't have been sitting there in a rehab center helping addicts, people that think they're addicted, to find their sole purpose. I wouldn't have wrote the book. We wouldn't have made already changes. So I look back now and I look at that and I see love. So everything has a reason. If I wouldn't have felt that pain, I wouldn't have wanted to evolve myself to be able to get to that consciousness where I could even understand when I started writing the book, I had no idea what I was going to write, but I did have the standard. I can't teach it till I live it. So as God was giving me downloads and I was pulling all this together, then I would live it as I was writing it. And I wouldn't go to the next chapter until I felt like I had experienced what I just wrote. Now, it didn't mean I'm living it all the time. We are human, but it does mean I had those experiences and I could teach it from the habits.
Gotcha. So that's the H, the E, the A. Are we on
L? Now, once you clear of all the negative emotion, L is living in now. It's present, you know, and you know this. Clock time is horizontal, past, present, future. The only time that actually exists is this moment right now. The past is a memory that you can bring into the present. The future hasn't happened yet. You can be anxious about the future and feel that now. But the reality is time is an emotion. It's either resentment, guilt, betrayal, whatever from the past, or anxiety, anticipation, whatever it is in the future. Time is an emotion. The only time that exists is right now. So when you look at the clock, you're seeing past now moments and future now moments. When you look at the calendar, they're past now moments and they're future now moments. But what time actually exists? Now. And then now again, then now again, then now again, then now again.
So how does that look like from a practical perspective? Like how do you immediately apply that?
You're always in a state of peace. So you look at, and I ask this question to the audience and to you and myself, what problems do I have right now? Now, this second, right now, what problems does everybody have? Now, what will some people say that don't understand this? We'll say, you know, I have a problem because I have to do this tonight. No, I didn't ask that. I said, what problem do you have right now? No, that's 6 hours from now. What problem do you have right now? I don't have a problem. Well, then, if you don't have any problems, could you be in joy? Yeah. All right. Well, what problem do you have right now? And then right now, and then right now, and then right now. So when you can live your moment in presence, you find you can be in the state of joy. Now, could there be a challenge that happens 6 hours from now? Absolutely. But you'll handle it now, and then that moment will be gone. It's the emotion that you carry into the next now moments from that action condition that happened 6 hours ago. You still think you have a problem now, but all you're doing is carrying the emotion from that moment 6 hours ago into this moment. And you think you have a problem. So another thing, because some of these people that think they're addicts, you know, people think they have problems, right? So you look at what's the strategy. If you're in the Indy 500, you're on a race car track and a couple of race cars crash right in front of you. What's the strategy? If you're coming up on a crash, what's the strategy? Do you know?
Like if I was in the race?
Yeah, if you're in the race and you're coming up on a crash, somebody crashed right in front of you, what's strategy? Do you know?
I don't know.
Oh, well, it's drive straight. It's like two cue balls. The cars crash. The last place they're going to be is where they impacted.
Interesting.
Now, what do we want to do? We want to solve problems. Oh my God, it crashed. I'm going to weave around it. Well, that car is going to crash. And the next thing you know, it's going to crash into you. Now, that's a metaphor for how we handle the majority of problems. If you got a problem in front, there's a crash in front of you, just keep going straight. Go straight through it, because it's probably not going to be there in a little while. As long as you know you're on your purpose and you're on your will and you're following your divine guidance, you're following your intuition. What happens, we get our mind in the way, we start solving problems, and then we end up creating other problems. So the racetrack is a metaphor for life. Just keep going. It won't be there by the time you get there. Now, if you're driving with confidence, there's no difference. And let's stay in the state of love. And if I can do that, love will solve the problem before I even get there. You can transmute problems before you even have to deal with them.
Gosh, I love that, man. So that's was that the L, or was that the I'm losing track. Was that the L, or was that the E?
Present, right? Stay on your path. Don't get right. So then E is establish your purpose and mission. And we go through how to look at all those steps. And then after you go through all the steps, like, wow, now I can hear the whispers of divine guidance. Now I can see the patterns in my life. It's no different than that guy. Yeah, I've heard that since I was 6. Well, what are you waiting for? Well, I don't know. I go, what are you afraid of? So my question to him is, what are you afraid of? Because what scares you the most is your purpose. If you get a vision that absolutely scares you, that's what you're supposed to do.
That scares the heck out of me, man.
Yeah, I know. And why? Because I've never done it. How am I going to do it? It's too big, blah, 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 blah. That's why when I was 60, I tattooed on my arm, Matthew 19:26, with God, all things are possible. And so when we look at, there's another verse in Luke that we go through and establish purpose and mission. And that is, I of myself can do nothing. So what's that do? Takes all the pressure off me. But with God, I can do all things. So that means if you have a vision of something you're supposed to do, but you can do it yourself, you're not thinking big enough.
Wow.
If you have a vision that you don't need to be spiritual, you don't need to be connected because that's who you really are, you're not thinking big enough. If it scares you to death, you have no idea that you absolutely need God's miracle and dependence. And I have to stay connected every day and have rituals 3 times a day because I'm human and I don't get it yet. Now you're on the right path.
That's so good, man. That's so good. Gosh, I love these nuggets, man. You're giving me great 30-second Instagram reel material here. Like that's a reel right there that you just gave me.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it, man. So is that include, or did we just finish D right there?
And then D, deliverance to the world, right? Now that's a whole nother thing. You know, now delivering it to the world, it's like if you came in with this purpose, this is what I talked about this morning. Your purpose is inside you. Your spirit knows. Your head may not know. You may not have evolved through those steps yet. But why at a young age would I say, I want to know who Jesus was from Jesus? Because 40 years later, I had my first out-of-body experience. Right? Now, here's something else. I remember this, man. When I was 14, I said to myself, I'm kind of scared to really deeply love because I'm going to get married and my wife's going to die. At 14, I was 43 when she died.
Wow.
Your spirit knows why. You saw my days before they were formed. You picked it. Why would I think that at 14? I didn't think it. It came from my spirit. Why would I say that? Because your spirit knows why you're here. Your human mind may say, I have no freaking idea. Well, it's time to pay attention. It's time to be great where you're at. It's time to realize you're a spiritual being, and maybe I need to follow. Maybe I need to really discover A, who I am, and B, who God is, or the universe is, or whatever vocabulary you want to use. Well, I don't believe in God. So I ask people, I don't believe in God. Why not? Well, I don't believe he's a big bearded man on a throne. Well, I don't either. Okay, we're on the same page. What do you want to call it?
Yeah. Yeah, I think a lot of people get so caught up in the religion piece of it, that they kind of throw everything out with it. And I get that to a degree. People have a negative experience, and yeah, I can see how that thinking, would spiral that direction. But you're losing something really special if you get caught up in the negativity with the religion and everything negative that you projected onto religion.
So there's a joke. This guy's a pastor is talking to the student, says, well, I'm atheist. And he goes, okay, so you don't believe in God? And he goes, nope, I definitely don't believe in God. He goes, well, would you mind if I pray for you? Because if you don't believe in God, then it really doesn't mean anything to you anyway. So would you really mind? I know I'm wasting your time, but what do you think? Yeah, no problem. God, I want you to damn him to hell. I want an 18-wheeler to run over his head. And he goes, no, stop. He goes, wait, you don't believe in God? That's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, prayers don't have power. You don't believe in God. Why'd you ask me to stop? It's like a pattern interruption, right?
Yeah. Oh man, that's too good, man.
That's funny,
yeah. I'm just picturing you doing that, which is making me laugh. So for people who want to actually learn this from you, is that something that they can do if they want to learn this system and actually work with you? Is that something that you're doing right now?
I don't typically do one-on-one. I can be bought, maybe, but my time is in other places. However, what you can do is go to thehealedsystem.com, and we have videos and a workbook and PowerPoints and meditations. And it is a self-guided thing, but you can also go to the Facebook page, Healed with Fred, Dr. Fred and Molly Rose. And we can interact there. So if you have any challenges, and if you had a challenge, could you call me? Sure. But am I gonna do one-on-one coaching? That's not really where I want to go. But as we develop this, this next Healed seminar that I talked to you about, we are training the first batch of coaches. So there will be coaches available. God, there's so many videos, man. Go on Heal Dr. Fred and Molly Rose. I mean, YouTube, there's all kinds of stuff.
Gotcha. So right now it's more of an online platform where you just basically have almost like an online curriculum where people can kind of go through and learn the healed steps, how to apply it. And
absolutely. And people that go through those videos have life-changing realizations and transformations. I personally don't do it one-on-one, but Molly can. My wife is a family psychotherapist with a specialty in spirituality, and she's way cooler than I am, man. You really should have her on. Like, you'll meet Molly and you go, oh yeah, what was your name? You're Molly's husband. Yeah, what was your name again? You're like, it doesn't matter. Just talk to me.
I love your wife, man. She is such a sweetheart and such a bright light about her, man. Yeah.
Oh my God.
She's a special human. I would love to talk to her on here.
Well, I mean, you met Molly. You're like, yeah, Fred, whatever. I've heard you already. Let me talk to Molly. That's kind of how dinner went, right? I mean, she appreciates you. So she does one-on-one stuff.
Awesome.
Which she's way cooler than I am. So.
Right. So there's the Healed available online for them. I know you're taking the Healed. It used to be a book called You Are More Powerful Than You Think. Is that still available, or is it going to be re-released soon?
You Are More Powerful. You Are More Powerful Than You Think is available on Amazon. I am rebranding it. New cover and tweaking the content a bit. So it's going to be called Healed. 6 Steps to Heal Your Life. Right now, it's a very similar book, and you can get it right now on youaremorepowerful.com. And I mean, just go to You Are More Powerful Than You Think and plug in my name. Just plug in Dr. Fred. And people that have read that book have had massive transformations.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite books, man. It is really powerful, and anyone who's watching, I highly recommend you check out Dr. Fred's book on Amazon. It is well worth it. It will change your life. Well, man, I appreciate you taking the time to do this. I know you delayed a beach walk to be on here with me, and I don't want to keep you any more from the beach, but I would love, anytime I talk to people, I love to give you a last word if there's anything that you feel like the world needs to hear from Dr. Fred today.
Yeah, I tend to be a little bit long-winded when you give me the mic, but I'll make this short. We only have one problem in the world today because the world's going through a massive transformation. And there is a rise in consciousness, but there's only one problem. It's above, down, inside out principle. It's a God-based, spirit-based life. And then the other thing that we do is a natural healthcare, spirit-based healthcare, right? Spine and nervous system is foundational life and health of the body. God made us with such an intelligent nervous system, with the intelligence of the universe, that it doesn't matter what the government genetically manufactures, you can fight it, because we've seen it in chiropractic. We've seen the people that have a strong nervous system, have a strong immune system, and those people don't get sick. Right? So the thing is we need an inside out faith, and we need an inside out healthcare. And when you do those two things, you become a part of the solution that's going to create a new world. We're going away with the old. Do not conform to the patterns of the world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Renew your mind to follow God's laws. Your body works within universal principles. Life force energy moves through your nervous system. Keep your spine in line. Understand you're a spiritual being. Stay connected. Have all eternity moving through your consciousness at your choice. And if you need training, if you want to know how to do that, go to thehealedsystem.com. Have a spiritually based foundational life, and you will withstand anything that goes on in the world. Not only withstand it, you won't even worry about it, because you'll already know God's going to win. We just have to walk through the valley.
Dr. Fred, you're the man. I appreciate you, brother.
Thanks, brother. Love you too.
Thanks for coming on, and everybody have a great day. Love you guys. Yeah.